Hi everyone, it's me Ali. As you saw on my previous video, I was able to beat Baldur's Gate 3 in Honor Mode and got the achievement for Hammer. Maybe you wanna have all achievements, or you only want to try this difficulty and be the owner of some golden dice. Then here are 10 tips for you to help you in Honor Mode. Or that's what I would say if I didn't have even more tips than expected. So here are 15 tips for your Honor Mode run. And some tips surprised me that other people aren't bringing them up. So, number 1. This isn't my first rodeo. It might sound dumb or redundant, but do not play Honor Mode if you haven't finished the game before. Or even better, play a second playthrough in Tactician, just to experiment with builds, strategies, and outcomes. Bosses have the same amount of health in Tactician difficulty and Honor Mode. So, if you want to see if this Owlbear from the top rope is going to one-shot this boss, then practice it in Tactician, and then use it in your Honor Mode playthrough. Number 2. The power of friendship. Use all companions. Don't you only use Astarion, use all the other allies you have and build them properly. If you are going to face a ton of enemies, then it's better to have a wizard and a warlock like Will and Gale. If the enemy has many counter spells or is one big enemy with a lot of health, then bring Lae'zel and Karlach, since melee users are better against one single target. And make sure to change the classes or fix the subclasses of some allies. I don't like barbarians, but I like fighters, so Karlach became a fighter, and Shadowheart became a cleric of life, so you can heal us a lot more than normal. Number 3. Bone Daddy and his mercenaries. Fix your companions with withers. All companions don't have their stats well distributed, so use withers to keep changing and fixing some companions, and don't worry about the money. You can steal back every coin, and he doesn't care if you fail your sleight of hand. But be careful. As you progress the story, some NPCs will stay at your camp, and they will attack you the moment you do something questionable. Also, get the 3 extra hirelings / mercenaries from withers. Having one cleric in your camp to heal you or give you buffs can be very helpful. It is better than the cleric in camp uses all her spells, so Shadowheart still has all her spell slots intact and ready for any battle. And most importantly, have a wizard with a good amount of wisdom, give him the medicine skill, and at level 2, give him the subclass transmutation. This is going to be your character that will make all the potions, elixirs, and grenades. The combination of all these stats gives him the chance of making multiple craftable instead of only one if he successes a medicine check. This is a great segue to number 4. I don't have a drinking problem. Make sure to drink your elixirs, especially if you have many of them. In balanced difficulty or lower, you don't need any elixir or potion to beat the game. But now, it's almost mandatory to have one elixir on you, or to have a good amount of potions ready. In some unexpected fights, like in the guild hall, it's almost for sure that you'll get hit, so having powerful healing potions, or even speed potions, can be critical. Number 5. Everyone is important. This might sound weird, but try to save everyone. Certain allies can be very helpful throughout the whole game. For example, Daemon. He's a character that appears in Act 1, and in many points you can lose him. But if you keep him alive until Act 3, he will sell you one of the best armors in the game. Or Roland. If you don't talk to him in Act 1, then help him in Act 2, you will lose an ally against Lord Rakan, and at the end against the Netherbrain. Number 6. How do I get experience? You need to get a job. Do quests, get experience, level up, rinse and repeat. Make sure to do as much as you can through the game. Leveling up is very important. Also, some quests or dialogues can give you permanent buffs. There are many hidden permanent buffs in the game. Bolo's Eye is one of the easiest and more well known. The Loviator buff, the Sweet Stone statue, the Absolute's mark, getting partial Cereformosis, and many others are in the game. You never know when one of them is going to be very important. For example, thanks to the quest Help Omelu Investigate the Parasite, I was able to get Survival Instinct. Thanks to this special action, I was able to save Shadowheart in the fight against Flaming Fist Marcus. Since I saved Isabel, I was able to keep the last line in safe, and many other important allies, so this gave me a very powerful armor in Act 3. And probably thanks to this armor, I was able to survive the encounter of Raphael. Number 7. Min-maxing. Make sure to maximize your damage with all the buffs, items, and weapons that fit your build. But this can be pointless if you don't know the proper order to use it. For example, make sure that the character that can make an enemy prone goes first, so later the other melee users can attack with advantage. Or, if you want to reposition yourself with a Misty Step, use a scroll. And now you still have all your level 2 spell slots for damage only. Sometimes scrolls can be very helpful to keep having high level counter spells against the enemies, or if another mage user doesn't have certain spell. The more strategy and planning you do, the easier and shorter the battles become. So don't try to immediately jump at a fight because the last time was easy. Plan every single battle like it could be your last, because in some cases, it could become your last. Number 8. Run. Always have an escape plan. I fortunately didn't have to use this, but if you see that the battle is not looking favorable to your party, run. Use the option to dash many times with some characters to escape the battle. And try to keep yourself alive, because you lose your permanent buffs when you die. So try to carry many invisible potions in your inventory. Remember, you'll only lose if your whole party is down. But if one of your characters escapes, he can tell Withers to revive everyone. Just be careful, because there are some places where you cannot teleport back to camp. Number 9. Not stealing, borrowing. Steal a lot. Check all the stores in the game and get all the important items. Right now, stealing got nerfed. Before, you could steal as early as getting level 3 with the help of Fog, Cloud, and Hold Person. But now, you have to buy everything until you're level 6. So make sure to give 400 gold to the store owners that you'll see through the whole game while level 1. So they give you a good discount, and make sure that the character has a good charisma and persuasion to buy everything. Once you're level 6, you only need a character with good sleight of hand, give a bag to the store owner, then put all the items that you want inside the bag, and finally, you use turn-based mode with a wild magic sorcerer that can use Bend Lock, and you give at least 4 charges to your sleight of hand character, so he can steal the bag with all the items. And that's how you get the best items in the game, once you're level 6. Just be careful with being able to crouch and hide from NPCs. Number 10. Stare and examine. Yeah, just examine your enemies, especially the big, tougher ones. You really need to know the weaknesses of many enemies. How are you gonna know that? Examine the character. Many bosses can be examined before the battle begins. For example, Cazador. He has sunlight hypersensibility. So now that you know this, you can cast daylight before the battle and you'll have a small advantage at the fight. Number 11. Barrelmeny. Use explosives, and all of them. There are at least 60 barrels dash explosives in the whole game, so make sure to collect every single one of them. You never know when you're going to need it, and use them with care. If you use too many, you're only wasting resources. And if you use too little, they could barely affect the outcome of the battle. You can find a lot in the Goblin Camp, in the Centaurian Hideout, in the Githyanki Crash, in the Mind Flayer ship, and in the Mind Flayer colony. Just keep an eye and you'll find a ton of them. Barrelmeny is very dangerous to everyone involved. It's a double-edged sword. And remember that every explosive works and weights differently. Some of them only do fire damage, and others do force damage. So make sure to use the most powerful ones for the correct situation. With great barrels comes great responsibility. Number 12. Cheese. It might sound like cheating, but the game is not gonna have mercy with you. So sometimes you have to do whatever it takes to win. Either Barrelmeny, the Owlbear from the top row, picking up and carrying enemies far from the allies, using neutral NPCs to defeat enemy NPCs, everything is allowed. Also, don't feel bad for searching strong OP builds on the internet. Death Stalker Ranger, a Lightning Cleric Wizard, Paladin Warlock, Strength Monk, those are strong builds that I use in my Honor run. Number 13. Oh shit, a rat! Use summons. Sometimes having a numerical advantage is more important than you might think. Why should I care about weak summons? Well, remember that some of them have special abilities. Permanent invisibility to be able to surprise your enemies like Shovel, or even Scratch. He is one of the few summons that has the action Help, so he can literally help you or your allies. Later, you can summon elementals, devils, devas, or genies to help. All these summons have a ton of help, and it's another ally that the enemies have to worry about. And if you don't want the spell of a summon to occupy space of another offensive spell, you can just get rid of it without repercussions. Unlike the buffs, the summon will remain, unless you leave the companion in camp. Number 14. You have my permission to die. Charisma is OP, and you could say very necessary in Honor mode. You might already know it, but let me emphasize it. You can literally persuade some enemies to kill themselves, or for example, convince your companions to use the Astral Touch Tadpole to get the partial Cereformosis. Whichever is the case, you need Charisma. Having good stats and items for your Charisma, it's very useful. And finally, number 15, DarkUrge. The DarkUrge can be a better choice for Honor mode, but for the most part. Time for some spoilers for the DarkUrge story. You have been warned. Playing as the DarkUrge gives you unique abilities and powerful items, but there's always a price for it. Let me show you all the good and bad stuff that can happen for some important moments. When you help Alfira with her song, she will go to your camp. If she goes to your camp, her fate is sealed, and she will die. That means that in Act 2 you won't be able to get some rewards, like the Potent Robe. But you can also knock her out, so you sacrifice another bard and get the Death Stalker Mantle, a cape that gives you invisibility every time you kill an enemy. Then, in Act 2, you are going to be tasked to kill Isabel, so if she dies, a ton of quests and items get lost, but you can ignore it with ease. What you cannot ignore is your urge. So the next long rest, you'll have the urge to kill your romance companion, or the character you have the most friendship with. So you can either romance a character that if dies won't affect the game that bad, like maybe Lae'zel, Karlach, or even Will, I think, or you can use many wisdom checks to resist the urge and not kill anyone. But if you miss the check, then one of your companions is dead and you'll lose the equipment. And also, you have to pass another check or the whole camp will attack you, but killing somebody will unlock the Slayer form. Lastly, in Act 3, you can immediately ally with Gortash. You also can go directly into Baal's temple and enter without the need of a key. Then you'll duel Orin instead of the usual fight, which can be easier or harder depending on the class you have, and allies can still give you buffs before the battle begins. Once the battle ends, you either finally become the Slayer or reject it forever. If you decline, you are free to do whatever you want. If you accept to be Baal's Slayer, then you're locked to do an evil ending. Get the Slayer form and the ability to use Power Word Kill once for the rest of the campaign. Also, you will have to kill Jaheira to get out of the temple. So there are many good things if you play as the DarkUrge, but you also have the risk of losing many good items and characters. It can be a whole headache to deal with this, so it's up to you if you want to be the DarkUrge for an Honor playthrough. Those should be enough tips and tricks for you. I hope this video can be helpful for all of you to beat Honor mode. It can be scary at the beginning, but once you know what to expect and you plan your encounters, many battles can be super easy, barely an inconvenience. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.